How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my new background. Apologies in advance if this audio is sketchy. I'm in a very empty office right now. I have literally got a desk behind me, sim rig to the left, this chair, and then nothing back there at all, other than some amazing artwork from Emily Penfold. You should definitely go check her out. But yes, as I mentioned in last week's video, I have bought a flat with my girlfriend and we have now moved into London, which is obviously great news. And yes, so we're currently trying to fill it with stuff. So if this is too echoey or the sound is a bit sketchy, I do apologize. If you also hear some rattling in the background, it's probably my cat, which is running around upstairs somewhere. So yeah, apologies in advance. This is all kind of a work in progress thing. But obviously, as I've been moving in over the last week, I haven't had much time to do much research into videos, but I had saved one particular story that I really wanted to share with you guys. And that is someone messing with my VW Polo for over 3 years. And honestly, if you guys know, and the whole thing stumps me completely, so if you guys know anything about this, then please let me know in the comments down below. If you don't, then yeah, again, just let me know your thoughts or let me know what you think. And if you want to see a tour of the new place, let me know by hitting the like button, 1,000 likes, and I will make a video of the flat. How about that? So remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, I know I haven't really given you guys any idea about what this video is really about in terms of messing with my Polo, but we need to go all the way back to before I even had my Polo, when I just had my Skoda Fabia estate and I was on my placement year from university. So I've told you guys before, I went to University of Bath, did a 4-year course, 2 years at university, 1 year on placement, and then a final year back at university. And on that placement year in particular is when this started. So on my placement year, I worked at an investment bank, and whilst I did that, I had my Skoda Fabia estate, which I would drive from my house around about 1.5 miles away to park the car on a random road, which I would then walk to my local station from. And now myself and my friends, who also drove a Polo 9N at the time, funnily enough, we would drive to that road, do the walk every single day, no biggie, nice and easy. Now, every so often when we were parking on this road, we would come back to find our cars tampered with in one way or another. Not necessarily badly or over the top, but sometimes we come back to our cars and find that maybe the windscreen wipers have been pulled up or something along those lines. And then on one occasion in particular, we turned up and we found my friend Marco's car with a cone on the roof of it for some reason. No notes, no nothing like that, just tampering with our cars, and only mine and Marco's cars in particular, which is more important here. This was back in 2016 to 2017, and yeah, it happened a few times, not consistently, not regularly, not enough that we would like shout home about it. It would happen like once every 4 months or so. So all that happened, we went back to university, we finished off our final year, and then after university, my friend Marco went to live in Central, whereas I went home to my parents to start saving to buy this flat that you see behind me. And that meant that I continued to do that journey to and from that road to then walk to the station. Obviously at this point, the Skoda had long since died, and so now I had the Polo 9N instead, so a completely different car, but I was still driving to and from the same road. And I was doing that because obviously I was still commuting into London. I had a different job at this point, but I was commuting into and out of London, and I was going to that road to park. And this is where it started to get a little bit messy. I started to find that consistently I would drive to that road, park my car, I'd come back to my car, and it would have the windscreen wipers turned up. Now this started back in around October 2018, but I didn't really start documenting it until around about May 2019. That wasn't really for any reason other than that I didn't really find it to be that big an issue until I started to realize that wherever I parked on this road, I would come back and find my windscreen wipers up, and it was happening pretty much every day and becoming more consistent. Now for context, the road that I was parking on, I parked on pretty specifically. The reason why I chose this road was because all of the houses along the right hand side of the street had their own parking spaces and garages, and all of the ones on the left hand side of the street, which were flats, had their own allocated parking spaces which were gated and kept away from the main road. And if you looked at this road at night, you would see that there was barely anyone parked on it, maybe like 4 or 5 cars on a road that could easily take 50 or 60. Okay, maybe not 50 or 60, maybe like 20 or 30, but you know what I mean. And on top of all of that, I started to realize in particular that it was only my car that ever had its windscreen wipers up. Plenty of people were going to and from the station in the morning. They were parking on that road and on the surrounding roads to that place as well, and none of them were coming back to find their windscreen wipers up. but I was coming back every single day. It didn't matter what time I came back. If I came back from work early, I came back from work late, I found it with my windscreen wipers up. Sometimes they'd also mess with my wing mirrors and push them in, but either way, the main point stands, they'd mess with my car. So I started documenting it in around about May 2019, just taking the odd picture of when it happened, not every single time, because I couldn't be bothered. I'd record myself going towards my car just to kind of prove that it wasn't me doing it, just to, even for peace of mind, just to know that I wasn't being an idiot and somehow, I don't know, walking away from my car and someone was playing a prank on me every single time. Yeah, I literally, it was happening all the time at that point. I never really cared that much, I still don't really care that much, but ultimately it was just a constant thing that I did every single day, just someone messing with the car. As I said, it happened wherever I was on the road. But then one day I was walking along the road, walking down to my car, and then I heard this.
That's why they've done that.
I've parked about 7 places on this road and every time it's the same thing.
Because you keep parking illegally.
I don't think that's illegal, is it? Wouldn't it be illegal there?
No. There's a notice that any of this hatched area is illegal.
Hatched?
This tiled area.
So,
raised.
On the weekend I parked on one of the ones over there. Just
raised area.
Yeah, that's I appreciate this bit, but as in the bit up there, so see where the
on the pavement
is, yeah.
Illegal.
But then how come all those cars haven't had
They're also illegal.
Are they really?
Yes, sorry, but that's the truth.
I'm pretty certain that if it hasn't got
you're on a bend, you're on the pavement, and you're on a raised area, so you got 3 counts. I didn't do it, but
No, I appreciate that. But as in,
I might have. I'd want to.
You'd want to?
I would.
That's good.
Because when you drive along, you can't see round the bend because you're on the bend.
I mean, there's ample seeing room.
I live here, so when I come out and someone's coming round, you're on the bend, we can't see each other.
I'll park on that bit there instead then.
Okay,
would that help?
Okay, then, fine.
It's have a good evening. So yes, the lady was saying that I was parked illegally because I was parked on the hatched area or that I was parked on the raised area. I mean, whatever she was saying, the point kind of still stands. It was only happening to my car. It didn't matter that the other cars were parked legally or illegally. It didn't matter where I parked, whether it was on that spot on the corner, which apparently didn't mean they could see. And by the way, that is nonsense because I have parked further down that road, driven around that corner, and you can see plenty fine because one part of the road is raised up and the other part is lower. So you can see, unless you're literally, maybe in my Mazda you'll be able to see. You could definitely see in a Polo or above. And by the way, it is actually illegal to park partially or wholly on a pavement. I am apparently aware of that now. I mean, I didn't know at the time, but yeah, theoretically it's illegal to park partially or wholly on a pavement. And that has been the case since 1974. However, I think it's one of those situations, and I'm not condoning it, but it's one of those things where I would hasten to suggest that every single motorist has at some point parked on a pavement. And the only reason that we park on pavements is to give people more space to go around us. You don't park on the pavement for your own benefit, you park on the pavement for other people's benefit, because if a road is tight and narrow and you can theoretically park out in the middle of the road, you do so at the expense of others, basically. So trying to legitimize illegal things aside, that didn't really give me a reason as to why someone was messing with my car and not with other people's cars, if that makes any sense. And also, more importantly than all of that, plenty of times I didn't even park on the pavement. Especially after this lady mentioned this point, I would start to park not on the pavement and we would all kind of park up behind each other and not be on the pavement. Like literally we were nowhere on the pavement at all, and yet it still happened. Perfect example. So I parked here today. The rear one's not done. Let's have a look at the front. Yep, there it is, parked entirely legally. In fact, from then on, I really never parked on the pavement at all in that area. But yes, this kept on happening and kept on happening, and I just kind of let it happen. I didn't do anything about it for a really long time. And then I did have one scenario where it went ever so slightly different, which is where I came home to find a penalty charge notice for parking illegally. Now, there was part of this section of road where you could park, which was just outside a play area. And there wasn't really any major way of explaining how to park in this place. There wasn't like a bit where you can park park here and you can't park there. But there was a sign, which I'd never actually seen, which was kind of around the corner, which had said, by the way, you can't park on this specific area of bricks. So I didn't really realise that. It was the bricks that were kind of in front of the play area. And so I did park illegally, by the way. I did get a fine, I did pay my fine. However, this was one of those areas where the only way that you find out whether someone has parked illegally, because it was like a managed service rather than it being an individual that comes along and takes pictures of cars or like writes you up a ticket or whatever, is by the community noting that someone has parked illegally or against the rules of the managed space or managed area. So different people in the area have a little application, they can take a picture of a car's number plate, prove that it was in the wrong place, and then at that point they can get that person a ticket. Now the company does send people around to look at the cars every so often and to do like routine checks or whatever, but it's highly infrequent, like as in nigh on never, because I'd never seen anyone get done for tickets in that area, and I'd literally been parking there for, as I said, 2 years at this point. And the pictures of my car were literally of someone standing around behind him, and I tried really hard to look at the reflection to try and work out maybe if I could recognize the face or anything, but no, I couldn't, unfortunately. So I got a ticket, paid 60 quid, and it is what it is. And then during the winter, just before we hit lockdown, finally I got some actual words involved in this situation. No notes, no nothing like that. I just got straight up on my windscreen written F off. And then being called a slur on the rear windscreen. Literally just like a couple of random things written into the condensation on my car. You can just about see them in this picture here. Now I've had no notes at this point. I parked in this for an entire year from 2016 to 2017. I parked in this for an entire year and a bit from 2018 through to 2020. And this is the first time I've had any kind of wording other than that lady getting angry with me and saying stuff to do with my parking. So I put my windscreen wipers back together, did all that kind of stuff, and then I literally went around and knocked door to door on the houses to see if it was anyone who lived in the houses. So I went door to door, knocked, every single one. Those who answered, I explained the situation, and all of them said, no, nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me. One guy, really nice guy, actually answered the door and said, yeah, I've heard some people getting annoyed about people parking on our road and they want to turn it into a permits only place, but in reality it's probably not going to happen because we've all got our own parking spaces. So I literally went door to door, and maybe I found the person when I was doing that knocking of doors, but again, I have no idea. And also I wasn't able to go to every single flat on the other side of the street, which would have therefore meant that like potentially hundreds of people who could have been culprits were not checked. By the way, I told people to look out for me, and people said they would and that they would look for me on their CCTV as well. But one of the lovely people that I spoke to in their house on that day advised that I actually talked to the police about it. And the reason why is because if you watched any of my previous videos, you'll have seen that I've actually got my face as the air freshener in my car. Now obviously no other cars on the road have a face as an air freshener, and so there's no way of kind of tying a person to the car. But the guy said maybe it'd be a good idea to talk to the police because like you're an ethnic minority and they're messing with your car, and they can see that you're an ethnic minority because if they've seen you in person, they've also maybe seen the picture of your face on there. Maybe they are targeting this attack a little bit more. Now I never actually thought that, and I still don't really think that, but I said I'd tell the police anyway, so I literally just filled in one of those little report things. I didn't call 999 or anything, I just filled in a report, and a police officer came around to my house and spoke to me about it, said they would just make a little note and walk past that area of the road. So that was about as serious as it ever got, but in reality, no idea, still have no idea who did it, and didn't really push the issue to try and find out who it was. Now I went through multiple different sort of thought processes on who could have been messing with my car at the time. The first one was that maybe it was a subscriber, because obviously at the time my YouTube channel was growing, maybe had, I don't know, around about 10 to 15,000 when this first started happening properly, and then by the end of it I probably had around about 58,000, so I was growing pretty well in that time. It could have been a subscriber. There were lots of subscribers where I used to live, so it could have been one of those. It could have been someone that knows me. It could have just been someone who lives in the area, because obviously I had plenty of school friends from around there. It could have been someone that I had run into somewhere else, or someone that is just like part of my friendship group or kind of knows me via that route. But I feel like I would have probably found out, because everyone that I spoke to about it would have probably had some kind of idea. But my leading theory on who it was that was messing with my car was just an angry resident who didn't have anything better to do. The fact that I could come back at literally any time of day tells me they were probably in their house for most of the day, and this is long before we were all working from home and all that other kind of stuff. And yeah, they just probably didn't like that I parked on their road, and they probably didn't like the look of my car because it's a loud blue Polo with horrible looking alloys on it for them, I suppose. And they probably just thought, that guy sucks, let's mess with his car. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Has that happened to you before? Has it been as ongoing as from literally 2016 all the way through to 2020, obviously before lockdown hit and I stopped going and parking there? Was I in the wrong for parking on a residential street? Don't know. I wouldn't care if someone parked on my street. Yeah, it might be a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. Just thought it was worth talking about, and I thought it was an interesting topic to go through, and yeah. Let me know what you think. But with a massive thank you for bearing with, first of all, because obviously you got this new flat, need to get everything sorted before I can start pumping out really good quality content, as I always want to do. And massive thank you to the patrons as well for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe as well if you're new. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.